Two blokes have got plenty to say about this Bush Summit. Again, you'll see it on the telly in and around 1 o'clock tomorrow on the East Coast, 11 o'clock here on the West Coast, and highlights at skynews.com.au. Tony Seabrook, who is, of course, with the Pastoralists and Graziers Association, always want to get it correct, and Paul Garvey with the Australian newspaper. Lads, lovely to see you.
Good to be here.
We were just talking about the issues when it came to the divide between decisions made in Canberra or Sydney or Melbourne and the stuff that ends up having to play out not just in regional Australia but in this case other side of the country. Right? Perfect example is the live export stuff that's going on right now. Do you think you can change their mind on this one, Tony?
No, I don't. I think they've made up their mind. I don't think we had a chance. From day one, they'd made up their mind. All the work we did was a complete waste of time. This is what they were going to do. They've done it. The only option we have now is to make certain they're not in government after the next election.
Right.
That's the only option we've got now, and we're working on that.
So Ash was saying before, I mean, literally, you go around, even in Perth, plenty of stickers, plenty of activism that's around. Would Labor now starting to see the fruits of your effort? Do you think in their internals they're starting to see that the talk is now turning into something to worry about?
I think they're going to be very, very worried. We know the seats. We know where the weak spots are. There's going to be a huge protest in Canberra on the 10th. A lot of farmers, West Australia, going over there. A lot of support from over east. We are going to rock their boat.
Good stuff, good stuff. Paul, what's been most intriguing to you about in the lead up to this particular summit, the sorts of big ideas that people like to serve up that will change regions?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, one thing that comes to mind with this conference that sort of stands out for me is that a lot of the policy issues that are ideological or theoretical for city voters are actually real here, right?
Yep.
You know, there's people out here who actually will lose their job if we decide to shut down industries, if we decide to impose new restrictions on emissions, for example, right? This is where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. So what's great about being out here is just actually getting to see and feel and experience that and actually hear from people who are directly affected by what is being done in Canberra. I mean, on Tony's point, though, of the campaign, I do cast my mind back to writing about the mining tax debate, which brought down the last Labor government.
The last live export nonsense where they just turned it off overnight because they didn't like what they saw on the TV the night before.
But what we saw with the mining tax debate, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars the industry spent pushing back on that. We're talking about 500 grand that's been raised by the sheep farmers so far, so we're still a long way from matching that level of impact at this point, but certainly that...
But even unlike TV ads, right, like if you've got people, I mean, look, let's be honest, the Teals, to some degree, have shown us, right? If you've got a certain amount of people that are fired up enough about something and they're focused in a certain area, now, yes, they had some money advantage as well, but if you've got enough people to knock on a door, enough people to tell a friend, enough people to shake a tree, well, then you can get a result. So that's what, as opposed to just blanketing with advertising and radio and telly and all the rest of it. So you've got that look in your eye. You've got plans ready, mate.
We can't reach the whole electorate all over Australia. We can't do that. We know where the seats are, the marginal seats. We know where they are. That's where the money is going to be spent. And I said to Murray, when he was the minister, he's now moved on, having left the carnage behind him. Correct. I said, if you're going to do me harm and the people I represent harm, you leave us with no other option than to do you harm. That is what we're going to do.
You're going to get a standing O tomorrow. There's no question about it. Now, we've seen ideas about everything from, rebates, taxation, all the rest of it, that some people are starting to discuss. Do you see those as a way of helping regional Australia?
Look, I find it's always tricky when you start having governments meddle in these sorts of things, right? I mean, at a state level here, we're just seeing what's happening in the building industry, right? We're still trying to unwind the damage that was done from a state government throwing blankets of money at trying to stimulate the industry along. So there's real issues fundamentally in going down that path in any sort of sector. The unintended consequences that stem from government seems to be pretty reliable, that it always goes pear-shaped in some shape or form.
Generally, when they're selling you something that you know is bad, it is bad and it's only going to get worse. Lads, I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll read your stuff in the paper.